Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Godley, filling in for Barbara Ham-Lee. In just 1 week, President Obama will leave the White House, and Donald J. Trump will be sworn in as the 45th President of the United States. As the world gets ready for the exchange of power, we thought it the perfect time to reflect on President Obama's time in office, as well as take a look at what we can expect from the new president during his first 100 days in office. The Another View Roundtable is here to share their knowledge and insight. You won't want to miss this discussion, which starts right after this news from NPR.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Another View producer Lisa Godley, filling in for Barbara Ham-Lee. There's a lot going on next week. The nation celebrates Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday on Monday, but the tribute starts a day early here in Hampton Roads with the Songs for a Dreamer concert presented by the Virginia Symphony Orchestra. The program begins this Sunday, January 15th at 7 p.m. at Calvary Revival Church. Violinist Brendan Elliott, a very talented musician who has been featured several times on Another View, will perform. And this year's Dreamer Award will be presented to Dr. Katherine Johnson, a former NASA aerospace technologist who is currently being played out her life on the big screen in the movie Hidden Figures. So be sure to put the Songs for a Dreamer concert on your calendar. The event is free and open to the public. Also next week, the nation gets a new president, making this a perfect opportunity to talk about what the outgoing president will be remembered for and what we can expect from the new president during his first 100 days in office. To help guide the conversation, the Another View Roundtable is here. Carol could not be with us today, but in her stead, the great prognosticator, Hampton University political science professor Eric Claville. Eric, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Author and talk show host Wil LaVeist. Hi, Will.
Always a pleasure.
Thank
Thank you.
you. And our community activist Bill Thomas was stuck in an accident, but he is on his way. He will be here shortly. And Roger Chesley, Virginia-Pilot columnist. Thank you, Roger.
Hello, Lisa. I'm starting to think Barbara doesn't like us anymore.
She will be back next month, I promise.
If you say so.
Okay. Now, before we start today's conversation, I want to play a clip from President Obama's farewell address. In this clip, he reminds us of some of his most memorable accomplishments. After that, I want to hear from each one of you about the Obama legacy and what you feel he'll be remembered for most and why.
If I had told you 8 years ago that America would reverse a Great Recession, reboot our auto industry, and unleash the longest stretch of job creation in our history, if I had told you that we would open up a new chapter with the Cuban people, shut down Iran's nuclear weapons program without firing a shot, take out the mastermind of 9/11, if I had told you that we would win marriage equality and secure the right to health insurance for another 20 million of our fellow citizens, if I had told you all that, you might have said our sights were set a little too high. But that's what we did.
That was quite a lot. I have forgotten some of that stuff myself. Will, what do you think the president is going to be remembered most for?
Of the list that he ran off?
That or something that he forgot, maybe.
I think he's going to be remembered most for being the first black president. And I think it basically comes down to that. There were other items there that, at risk, Obamacare, obviously. But I think being the first black president, as well as the president of which Osama bin Laden was executed under his watch.
Okay. Bill, what do you think President Obama will be remembered most for?
A decent man, very decent family man, cared about his family, his country. Some of the things I don't think he will be remembered kindly for is the Unaffordable Care Act and some things like that. That just didn't work out well. Intrusive government, somewhat of a disappointment for the historically black colleges and universities, where those of us who work and serve or educate our kids in those communities where drastically funds were cut. But overall, I thought he did a very good job of coming from a horrible economy that was left for him to salvage from. We were on the brink of disaster. And actually, I thought, and the only other thing that I disagreed with him, and Bush at the end of it, is that I thought they should let all the banks fail. So, but other than that, decent person, class act, role model extraordinaire, and I see him more as a universal globalist versus an African American. But that's the way he saw life, and he did well with it.
Okay, Roger?
Yeah, besides the obvious fact that the first black president, if you get beyond that, two things to me is the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, putting 20 million individuals with health insurance, and so much of this repeal and replace that has been shouted by Republicans. It's very interesting, the stories that you see, that they know they're somewhat in a bind now, because there are so many. Some people hate Obamacare because his name is on it, but yet they like a lot of the individual parts of it. And for good or for ill, he has really forced this country to deal with the fact that so many Americans did not have health insurance, basically were the extent of their health care was going to the emergency room when they were having a crisis instead of trying to do anything preventative. And so, therefore, you've got this discussion. I get the impression that a lot of Republicans are trying to wipe his name away from anything that he might be associated with. But be that as it may, he has still forced that discussion on this country. And then secondly, I think he's going to be roundly criticized for having a foreign policy that has been, he made too many statements and then didn't agree to back them up. And especially this is going to be the case on Syria. Yes, he did have a huge military presence in two countries when he came in. He was trying to figure out a way to extricate himself, extricate this country from those situations in Iraq and Afghanistan. But I think it's been very muddled. And he was obviously seemed to be more, in my estimation, more concerned about what was happening domestically. And I think that he was trying to take the cues from what Americans were telling him as well on that. But to some of the things Bill said, good man, free of scandal. And I think, it's always, Leonard Pitts wrote a column this week about it's always tough for the first black in anything. Mm-hmm. And therefore, there will be a lot of criticisms. But I think on balance, I think he did himself in this country well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric?
I think that he'll be, excuse me, I think he'll be remembered as one of the greatest presidencies we've ever had in the United States of America.
Why do you think that?
And the reason for it is because if you remember what we came out of under President Bush after 8 years of successful economic policies and really peacetime policies under President Clinton, I mean, the country was really hanging on a lot of threads economically, foreign policy-wise, war and so forth. And he brought the country back. He brought back the trust of the United States of America to the world. And in addition to that, it cannot be overlooked that he was the first black president and a successful African-American president. I was saying the other day with Wil, President Obama, if I can describe him utilizing some other firsts that we've had in America, he is the Jackie Robinson of U.S. presidents. Jackie Robinson wasn't the best baseball player, but he was the best overall individual to be the first to go into baseball. Now, he was a heck of a baseball player, so those people who are baseball experts and so forth, please don't call in.
He won the Rookie of the Year.
He
I
was
believe he
the
was
worst
MVP.
MVP, star athlete in UCLA in football and baseball and track.
As well as Obama
many
was
others,
among the best and brightest.
Yeah, but
there you go.
But many others would say that Satchel Paige probably should have been the first. But moving on from that. In addition to that, it cannot be overlooked that he had an administration for 8 years that was scandal-free, And if we look forward to what we're having now we have a president that's about to come into office that is getting ready to have
scandalous.
He gives a new phrase, a new theme to Prince's song, right? And at this point, I'm proud to have been alive during his presidency. I'm proud that my sons were alive during his last speech. I shut the house down, and the family, we sat on the couch and we watched it together. And I'm just really happy that they had a chance to witness that. I'm blessed to have been able to witness it. And for all that I have constructive criticism of him about, when you look at the entire picture, just a wonderful, successful presidency for all Americans.
Seeing as how you mentioned the president-elect,
yes,
in your answer, first 100 days he's coming into office, the scandal, well, it has carried and followed him throughout his campaign, and now he will be sworn in a week.
Yes.
And he has some things he's going to be dealing with.
Yes.
Including, and I'm going to go to you first, Bill, but some things he's going to be dealing with. And one of the things that keeps coming up, his business investments, his ventures.
Sure.
What are your thoughts, Bill? He says, he says he could run his business and run the presidency all at the same time, even though that's not being recommended, and he's going to put his sons in charge. But
do you know who was the largest landowner of property and our first president? One of the richest Americans, George Washington.
Okay.
And there's nothing constitutionally wrong with being rich and serving the country as president. He's a smart man. I'm sure they'll figure out how to exculate himself from that stuff, because he would not want to damage his business assets by doing something that would be in conflict that would cause that empire to suffer. So they'll figure that out.
Okay.
I mean, now he's different because he's not a politician. And one of the things that we keep talking about, well, people don't have health care and stuff because a lot of people don't have family earning income jobs to cater to stuff like that. So I think that Mr. Donald J. Trump will, and I'll be there, and I was a delegate and proud of it. And I also was a surrogate for President Obama before he became president. And we were one of the first people to raise money for him. So my point is that I look at the person's character and what they do and what our problems are. I think right now we need to figure out what we need to do for America a little bit more, get people engaged, and get some of the things back that we need to do.
Okay, I have a question for you. I want to throw the phone numbers out there, though. Give us a call, 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. We'd love for you to join the conversation. Bill.
Yes.
So you don't have a problem with the fact that the president-elect owns property in Brooklyn that's governed by HUD. That doesn't bother you?
No, it's got to be separated. It'll be separated.
Okay.
It'll be separated.
Okay.
Is that an issue? I mean, just because he's rich, they got to figure a way out of it.
I'm not talking about being rich.
Yeah, but he owns property. That's what he does. He's a real estate mogul. He owns properties. He manages property. He buys and sells property. That's what he does for his living. He has got to get himself out of that. Not only because I don't think it's anything unconstitutional about it, but he doesn't want to put his empire, his business, his assets in some kind of jeopardy by doing something unintentional that would cause a conflict. So in my judgment, he does need to separate himself from that.
Okay, Will.
Lisa, I think that we're in a period in this country where we're just like in the height of denial, double standards, bordering on absolute craziness.
According to in your opinion.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I understand.
I was reflecting on, I was in a stadium in Denver when President Obama accepted the nomination. I was covering it. And I remember looking around and seeing the euphoria of the people and the hopes and all this and the dreams. And when I saw his speech in Chicago, sort of reflected on that moment and thinking about when he was coming in, if he had some of these issues, some of these potential conflicts of interest, some of these scandalous would he have had a possibility, any possibility of winning this election? I mean, where have we gone? I wrote a piece in Veer magazine talking about how the press has totally failed us in this situation of way underpointing all of his conflicts of interest. How can you sit here and justify and say, it's okay, we'll figure this out? We're talking about the president of the United States. If the mayor of Norfolk is coming in and trying to be a mayor, and he owns all of these properties, got all these potential conflicts, the people need to know to make their decision. He's standing there saying, I'm going to be the greatest job creator that God has ever made. And we're just saying, well, we're just taking it at his face value, and this is okay. We're talking about the president of the United States and potential conflicts of interest. And we're just like writing this off as if it's, oh, we'll just figure this out. The double standard is incredible to me.
But we haven't seen the tax return, so we don't know exactly what he owns.
What are we talking about? And why haven't his tax returns been leaked? Why is this? How can you just accept, oh, well, I'm not going to show my tax returns? We, the people, need to know what your conflicts of interest potentially are. What do you mean? What do you mean you can run your businesses and run this country? What are you talking about? I don't understand. And then Bill, as intelligent as he is participating in this bordering on madness.
Oh, well,
come on now.
All of us.
It has nothing to do with him being rich. Come on, that's just a red herring. It has nothing to do with him being rich. It has to do with, do you have potential conflicts of interest that will impact this nation based on the decisions that you make? And the press should be revealing this. We should know this. And then if we want to make a decision to put him in office, knowing all of that, then fine. That's our decision. But to just say we're going to figure this out, this is I'm telling you, this is bordering on his madness.
I just want to know why the word treason hasn't been said more.
Okay.
At the risk of sounding sour grapes, can you imagine if Hillary Clinton had been reported to have played footsie with the Russians the way the inner circle of the Trump team apparently did in trying to come up with dirt on his opponent and on whatever conversations or dealings he had with the Russian government in the lead up to the election? I mean, I think the question can't be asked enough. Whose interest is he serving? Is he serving the American people's, or is he serving Vladimir Putin's interest? And I think that we haven't gone far enough in trying to get to the bottom of this. And I also am concerned about his intricate web of entanglements in terms of business. And what is, it's one thing to be a businessman, but now when you're supposed to be the most powerful person on the earth and you've got all these business entanglements that, could lead to conflict of interest, I think that that's a big problem. And, in the last couple of days, we've had a federal ethics chief who's saying that what the president-elect has proposed in terms of separating himself, separating his interests, it doesn't go far enough. So I think there are a lot of problems in the few days that he's going to become president. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that need to be cleared up between now and then.
Eric, you're a law professor. Is this constitutional?
It is, and conflicts of interest. I mean, conflicts of interest from the moment that he steps into office. I agree with Bill in part, but I agree 100% with Will and also Roger.
Explain, please.
Okay, that yes, his conflicts need to be severed, period. Just having the appearance of conflicts of interest is a problem. The best way to do that is to sever all of his business interests by divesting himself through a blind trust or selling his interests. That's the only way to avoid any appearance and any type of missteps for conflicts of interest. Anything outside of that, he puts himself in jeopardy, and those who are operating his business of being brought up on charges, whether it be SEC charges, whether it be charges relating to the Constitution itself, or any other business dealings. I agree with Will, America is delusional. Okay? Because the old adage, when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them, okay? Donald Trump is a man who is about himself, period. Has always been, will always be. Even his son, in his only interview, made a statement that said that Donald Trump, his father becoming president, is a step down for him. That was probably one of the most condescending statements I've ever heard, because as President of the United States, it's an office of service. The greatest thing anyone can do is to serve humanity and serve mankind. When you utilize this office for your own self-interest, when you utilize this office which is the great, as a bully pulpit, nothing good can come from it. And I will say this also, that look at the seeds that he sowed to get to the White House. Washington, Bill knows this, Will, Roger, has a very long memory. It's one of the most vindictive places you could ever be in your life. When he went after John McCain, I said, he's not going to live that down. John McCain got a copy of that 35-page dossier.
That's right.
Months ago. And John McCain stopped talking. They're going to get Trump. And from January 21st, it's going to start.
And Lisa, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying that people don't have a right to vote for Trump. I'm saying that we need to know ahead of time what is the situation. And then if you want to vote him in based on and all those comments, then fine.
He is voted
right. And I'm like, fine. That's my president. And I hope that he succeeds for the nation. But to act like, oh, we'll just figure this out.
No.
What are you talking about?
No, Lisa, listen.
What are you talking about?
Look what y'all are saying.
This is ridiculous.
That the people of the United States of America that elected this man to be their next president are delusional. And over the past 8 years in this country, the state legislators in the other states have lost 1,000 seats. They've lost 12 governorships.
You're talking about Democrats.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They've lost 12 senates. The vast majority of the local and state legislatures are run by the folks that are delusional. That's what we're saying. But let me finish this.
I'm not saying they're delusional.
No. Let me finish. Let me answer Rod's question.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully my colleagues. Here's what I see. This man has been running for president for 24 months. He has been saying all of these, quote, delusional things, and he has not changed his color of how he said anything.
Right.
Now, we are 7 days before he is going to put his hand up in the air and be sworn in.
Right.
And you're going to tell me our press and our intelligence agencies have not been able to find any concrete, provable evidence of all these things that he have been alleged to have been doing. That's delusional. I can't believe this. How can you say, well, he's doing this, he's doing that? Why aren't our agencies, why don't we know this? Why don't we know this as a fact? And Washington does have a sword, but it's a two-edged sword. And I think the person that's going to suffer behind that thing that John McCain just sent out is going to be him. So what I'm saying is my fact is really simple. It's really clear. The people that voted for Donald J. Trump, including me, and I also voted for Mr. Obama, are not delusional. We're sick and tired of being left out, ignored, and just put on all these issues where the 1 or 2% of Americans are all getting over, Democrats and Republicans, and the great middle class, black and white, are being forgotten and ignored. That's why these state houses are changing. That's why there's 37 or 38 governors, Republican governors, and over 1,000 more Republicans that have been elected to Democrats across the country. So that's what I'm saying. No, I am not delusional.
I don't think anybody's saying the wealth divide isn't getting bigger.
You did. You're saying we're
I'm
delusional.
just being clear that I did not say, and I'm not saying that the voters
then
are
who
delusional.
Are you saying delusional? Who's delusional?
What I'm saying is delusional are those who are saying that these conflicts that are glaring are okay, and we'll just figure them
One
out.
more comment,
And
I'll
I
let
said
Roger
that,
go. One more comment.
and I said that
One
it's
more
the
quick
role
comment,
of the
and I'll let him
press.
go. One more
I
quick
said that
comment.
it's the
One more
role of
quick comment.
the press has failed us in this arena. It's totally failed us.
I agree with that.
Okay, I got
What
you.
you're saying is true.
Now, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the exchange of power from President Obama's legacy to President-elect Trump's first 100 days in office with the Another View Roundtable, journalist, author, and talk show host Wil LaVeist, Hampton University law professor Eric Claville, Virginian-Pilot columnist Roger Chesley, and community activist Bill Thomas. We'd love to hear from you, so give us a call at 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Go ahead, Roger.
I will agree with Bill on the part that there are a lot more Republicans running things across the country. I would caution to add, however, 3 million people, 3 million more people voted for Hillary Clinton than did for the president-elect. And secondly, part of the issue in a lot of state houses across the country is if you control the state house when the census redistricting takes place, you can run things for a long time. So there is that. But point well taken on the number of Democrats. But I think that if the president-elect, to me, it's a showing of disdain for this country. He knew that if he won, he was going to have all sorts of entanglements that were going to need to be severed. And if you don't have that plan in place, a serious plan in place, not one that's going to be criticized by people left and right about, how serious that plan was, then that shows you really didn't care about doing what you needed to do. Where was the sacrifice that you were going to show that, yes, I'm serious about running this job, and I'm going to do the things that every other president has done in trying to disentangle my business interests from that job that I'm now going to be doing as president. You had to have known that while you were going through this process.
But Roger, he brought his attorney in to explain.
Oh yeah,
how he could do this.
That was really nice during the press conference. I'm sure all the reporters there really appreciated her taking up some of that time rather than the president-elect being up there.
She's his counsel. She is the one that's going to be directing him. And the last point I was going to make, if he hasn't came up with a plan to separate his interests, which would be at risk if he does anything that Mr. Claville just said, then he really has some issues. I don't think that he does. I think they do have a plan because Lord knows he doesn't want to lose his money and lose all of that legacy that he has. So I give him that benefit of the doubt versus not that benefit of the doubt.
Okay, let's take a phone call. Joe calling us from Charles City. Joe, thank you for calling Another View.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Having listened to the conversation for about 15 minutes, my point is just that all of this wailing and gnashing of teeth about what the feds didn't find and the press didn't find sort of assumes that there's something there to find.
Amen.
Maybe there just isn't, Maybe the guy's upright, upstanding.
Amen.
He's been a businessman, did businessman-like things, made money, and it's just something so anathema to Washington where you're dealing with nothing but professional politicians.
Preach the word.
Okay. All righty, Joe. Thank you for calling. I'm going to let the round table respond. Go right ahead.
Well, if we have 2 years of investigations or more, as including what Hillary Clinton faced on both her emails and Benghazi, maybe we'll see how he is at the end of that period to see whether nothing can indeed be found. I don't think there really has been the type of due diligence on some of these things. And some of it wouldn't happen until he's president anyway. But we'll see. Let's see if we make that same statement in 2 years.
Okay. Again, Lisa, the assumption is that it's a witch hunt and you're looking for something unscrupulous to find. What I'm saying is that when you're the president and you have business interests and you're in a position to make decisions that could benefit your business and maybe be at a disadvantage to the nation, the people need to know. I'm not saying that this is necessarily he's done something wrong.
Or that he will.
Yeah, or that he will. I'm saying that we need to know. And why we're in this position is because the assumption was that he was never going to win. So we don't have to do the assumption. I'm talking about the press. I'm talking about a lot of the people that the assumption was that he's not going to win. He's just a clown. He's just a this. He's just a that.
There you go.
We don't have to go
don't
into.
Don't diminish the man. The man is a billionaire. He has a good,
let me finish
family.
my point.
Let
Bill,
me finish, Bill. I'm going to let you respond.
I didn't talk over you.
Not a clown.
Because what you're doing is, what I'm speaking of, I'm saying the assumption that the press and a lot of people made was that it doesn't matter because he's not really going to win.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that they should have been looking at, if he wins, these are the issues that we need to confront. And the voters need to know that. And now you're making a decision, well, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with what his conflicts may be. I still want him in office. That's fine. Now we're chasing it later and then saying, well, we're going to figure it out. And then what if we do find something that's really, really problematic?
Oh, I didn't say the press was going to figure it out. I said the press and our intelligence agencies are worthless for not doing their jobs, is what you're saying is correct. I'm considering the man to be outstanding. He's raised a decent family. He's run a good business. He's not a clown. He's a gentleman who's done most things, some things right, some things wrong, but mostly right. Accumulated a lot of wealth, done a lot of good. And we just need to move on that basis. Now, if they do find something that comes up after all this time, I would fire everybody in the intelligence agency, and I would fire everybody at the Washington Post and the New York Times and everybody else who should have been doing their job.
We may see some changes coming with the intelligence agency anyway, but go ahead.
Yeah, and to the caller, one thing that was being spoken and discussed here is, first of all, the double standard with Trump and President Obama and also Hillary Clinton. We cannot forget the insulting things, the very just harsh and terrible, ugly things that Donald Trump spoke about and toward others during his campaign, toward the members of his own party that he was running under, toward women, toward people with disabilities, people of color, and the like. Secondly, in his business dealings, the caller said he did businessman type stuff or things. I mean, that's very broad. I mean, in his business dealings, there have been stories that were broken by the press which show that he stiffed people that worked for him and buried them under litigation. I want callers to do some research on the man that actually mentored Donald Trump for over a couple of decades. His name is Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn is a former lawyer, and he's affectionately known as the devil in the legal realm. He was also the attorney for the McCarthy hearings that was given wide latitude to really destroy people, whether it was true or not. That was Donald Trump's senior counsel. That was his mentor during his formative years before he passed away with AIDS. So with that, I mean, go back and take a look at that. PBS Frontline did a phenomenal piece on that.
I saw that.
And I would encourage anyone to go to frontline.org and take a look at that. But listen, where there's smoke, there's always fire. And whatever seeds you sow, they coming back. And unfortunately, from things that we know, how Washington works, I really, really have a lot of trepidation for this administration in the first 2 years.
Okay, let's take another call. Roth is calling us from Norfolk. Roth, go ahead. You're on Another View.
Hi, yeah. Thanks for taking my call. My question's for the Trump supporter panelist. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. I'm
Bill Thomas.
Terrible.
Wil LaVeist.
Yeah. So,
It's Bill Thomas. Go ahead, sir. You guys stop. Okay.
yeah. So, Mr. Bill, my question is, I'm wondering if you're disillusioned with the 1% in politics running the government, and like you're worried about people being disenfranchised from politics. Why would you elect a billionaire to represent you in politics?
Okay.
Because-
We'll let him answer that.
No,
Go right ahead.
it's a very, very simple question. I don't elect people. I support ideas and principles. He believes that the free enterprise system, lower taxes, less government intrusion, more attention toward Americans, not some globalists. He doesn't believe in the wars. He's a good, strong family man. I don't put my trust in any man, Democrat or Republican. I put my faith and trust in their principles and their ideas. So Mr. Trump most satisfies my principles and ideas. It's not the man, but I don't have any issues with what I've seen the man do. Raise a great family, do some great things, and every PBS thing about he used to have the devil as his lawyer, I've seen him having angels doing good work, including helping with a project in Atlantic City with some African Americans who wanted to build the first hotel casino there that he helped out. And that was from local businesses and local architects. So I've seen him good works. And that was 30 years ago. So that's what I'm voting for, not the man. Not the man. I would never, you put your faith in a man or a woman, then you're going to be disappointed. But if you go on ideas, and I hope he's able to keep straight with his ideas and his principles, and if he doesn't, I'll be the first one to raise my hand. It's time to go.
Okay. All right, Roger.
He said a lot of things that seemed flat out crazy during the campaign in terms of torture, in terms of backing off from NATO and some other things. And I've been at least somewhat heartened that he's had folks who have come up during these confirmation hearings who seem to have said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to be for waterboarding. We're going to try. We're going to stay with NATO.
His Attorney General nominee said
right.
that, yes.
And so, I'm a little concerned in the fact that he ran on one way, but now some of the people who he has nominated are saying, "Hey, we're going to do this the right way."
Sounds like maturity.
It sounds like he's trying to have it both ways.
Really,
here.
Roger? That's new. That's new
that's
that
true.
they run on one thing and they.
Very true. But usually your nominees do say that they're going to follow the some of the stances that you as president have set forth. But hopefully, some of the people that he's nominated to head these different agencies are going to have the bigger picture and aren't going to be going for the sound bites necessarily. And I hope somebody also takes away his Twitter handle while he's doing
Why?
what.
You talking about free speech? Don't you want to hear what he thinks and what he says and what he's doing? You're getting
I think
front,
that
face, and personal. He's giving it to you.
Why
would you,
I'm
as
worried about
a writer, as a journalist?
I am worried about some of those pronouncements that he's making policy in 140 character statements.
I mean, again, that's typical traditional journalism talk. I respect Roger, love him.
No, you don't.
But he's been in that room. He's been in that newsroom, that newsroom that is falling apart, that is failing for too long. Okay, we are now in the social media.
He'll be happy
era.
when I get fired. I guess.
We're now in a social media era.
Absolutely.
Where this is how the president is communicating, and I'd rather know what you really think. Then get the script.
You think
let's
this
go
is
back
what he really
and let's
thinks?
get.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Look, Trump. I've said this on this show before.
I mean, I like it.
Is not stupid. He used the rhetoric that he needed to use to go down the lane that was going to get him to the presidency. He didn't expect. I don't think he really expected that he would pull it off, but he had enough confidence because of the kind of mindset he has that he could pull it off. And now that he has pulled it off, now that he's done it, he's continuing to go down the road, and he's like, look, I'm going to make this work and figure it out.
It's my world.
Right. So he knows, and they know it's rhetoric. Look, President Obama did very much the same things in a different way. This is what politicians do. You say these different things to whatever constituency to get the vote that you need. Once you get in the spot, then you do the wheeling and dealing to actually get done what you're going to get done.
I agree.
That's what he did. So as a member of the press, as a member of the paper of record of this state, you need to be giving people context and giving them an understanding and stop just reporting what he says, what he tweets, and following him around.
Yeah.
And that's just, look, between CNN, what's going on in cable news, that's just reality TV news.
Absolutely.
That's not even news anymore. That's just reality TV. It's scripted. It's just about entertainment. It's just about ratings. Go like Claville said, frontline, 60 minutes. That's what you need to be looking at to really understand what is going on.
Not enough people.
Because you guys got them all distracted.
That's their fault.
You got them all distracted and beat up over the head.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill.
Listen to these shows.
Get up on Roger. Okay, hold on.
That's okay. We usually do it.
It's okay. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, my comment about the Twitter elected chief is I agree in part and dissent in part with my three colleagues here. The reason why is very dangerous for President-elect Trump, soon-to-be President Trump, to continue tweeting the way he is because, for one, he sends a different message than that which is spoken by his appointees, those that are going to help him run this country. Secondly, at 3 o'clock in the morning, as a grown man, I'm asleep. I don't know what everybody else is doing, but he's up tweeting. That kind of disturbs me that you're up at that time of night, having these thoughts. And what he tweets out and the way he tweets those things out, a lot of it is very condescending, a lot of it is very insulting, and a lot of it is very small. And when I mean very small of him, I go to what Joe Biden said. He needs to grow up because he is the commander-in-chief of the largest, greatest nation in the world and possibly in mankind. And the world holds on to the image, the words, and the actions of the President of the United States. He needs to act like it. He needs to change his ways, but I believe it's too late for him to do that because this is the way he has been. If you followed him from his rise when he became a real estate mogul in building Trump Towers down in Manhattan to his time when he wrote the book, about the deal to the time where, the Taj Mahal went belly up, to the time he created The Apprentice and so forth. This is who he is, unfortunately. Fortunately for the press, they're going to have a lot of fun with this. And those who support him,
I don't consider it fun.
I think he's going to be good for the press because it's going to challenge and finally force the press to readjust to this new era that we are in, and to do your job and to stop just following the fire engine and what he says and trying to be individual stars is really going to force it can make and break the press in many ways. Yeah. Because we've been here before. Roger and I know about the history of journalism and yellow journalism and the different rises and falls and different things that have happened.
That's a different form.
It's time for those old curmudgeon mindsets, and even bringing in young people and indoctrinating them into the same foolish mindset. It's failing us.
Yeah, and what I agree with Will about is the fact that I may read the newspapers, which I do. My children and people that are Will ages, they're looking at this stuff on these doggone machines.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And they need context.
They need context. Let me put this in the context. I had to get off of Verizon because they had DSL. My children won't even come to my house until I had some kind of cable so they could run these doggone machines. Oh, Dad, we're going to come for Christmas, but we're not going to stay here. You on DSL. So I agree with you. And what I'm saying is the fact that real estate and commercial real estate is a blood sport. And how you deal, and the people in there are not angels, they're devils. They understand exactly what you're getting into when you get there. And the Taj Mahal, Donald Trump was ahead of that. He got out of that when the Native Americans were able to create casinos in Connecticut and go points. It was over. It was over. So what I'm saying is the fact that, and I'll let you go, people are sick and tired of not being listened to. Okay. We're sick and tired of it. We don't believe in no hope and change. Hope and change didn't happen. What we're trying to do is figure out ways how to empower ourselves, and this man is saying it.
Okay. Lisa, you said something earlier, right? You said that Ben Carson, head of HUD, will be overseeing some properties that potentially Trump owns and runs.
Right.
Do the people know that? Do they understand the significance of that and why that should matter?
Bill didn't.
All I'm saying
is, Trump understands that.
Why can't we? Can we get some information on that and why that matters, and then I can make a decision?
Trump understands that because in the documents he signed, if there's any conflict in a political nature with any of those properties that he has HUD liens against, he is finable and adjudicatable. So he's going to get out of that. And if he doesn't get out of that, we're going to say, hey, man, you're not as smart as I thought you were. And if people like me, I don't care about the man. I care about what he believes in.
Does Joe's six-pack know that?
Okay. The problem is, and I would agree, I think we gave too much free publicity and airtime thinking that this was a novelty act when he ran for president. But the other problem is that we can report and we can write, and are the people going to consume? And that's part of the problem. It doesn't matter. We've got a lot of different platforms. The old dinosaur has tried to revamp and reinvent itself, but if the people aren't going to read it or aren't going to subscribe to it, there's only but so much that we can do. So if you get your news from CNN or Fox News or some of these other outlets, and it's not really a news gathering, but it's more of an opinion service, then you're not going to get some of the facts that you really need. And we can put it out there, but if the electorate doesn't want to consume it, there's only but so much we can do.
Okay, well, the great prognosticator, Eric Claville, whom we were all saying possible novelty act during the campaign.
Exactly.
Eric said that Donald Trump would win the Republican nomination and Donald Trump would win the presidency.
Well, I said 6 months ago. That's why I went to the doggone convention. I didn't pay $6,000 to go to that convention thinking he was going to lose. And you know the first thing he said at that convention? I'm not in this to play games. I get into games to win. And that's when I said, okay, I'm with you. He said if he loses, it's all a waste of time and effort. I would have wasted my money I invested going to that convention. I knew he was going to win because people were sick and tired. And I also knew when they were doing those polling that the people that they were polling were not telling the truth about who they were supporting.
Yeah, that became evident. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Eric.
So, the way I foresee the conflict of interest in business dealings is because the arm length test. So for example, by placing his children over his companies and placing individuals such as Dr. Ben Carson over HUD, who was a supporter of him, it's very easy to see how you're having your breakfast with your cabinet members and say, oh, hey, I hope everything's going well with such and such property. And that's kind of code talk for saying, it should be going well. His children are not going to do anything that's going to cause their future inheritance, all right, and which is their father's business dealings and fortune, to do anything to diminish that, and they're going to seek for every advantage. That's what business is, seeking every advantage, being as close to that ethical line and illegal line as you can get. Again, I think it's a very, very bad move unless he divests himself fully by selling his assets or allow somebody in a blind trust, someone that he does not know, that's not related to him, to execute and manage his business dealings before he actually takes office. That would be the right thing to do. That would be the best thing for the American public, and that would take away any type of appearance of misdealings and possible scandals for his administration, but he's not going to do that.
Yeah, I was about to say, that doesn't look like that's going to happen.
And I was a real estate commercial senior vice president, senior lender. He cannot sell real estate in a cash sale. He would lose everything. What I would do, and I'm just a little advisor here, I would take every government-backed mortgage that I have that would be HUD-related, I would put those in a package, and I would sell those off. I would not do anything in those government things because even the intent of trying to misrepresent or represent an interest in a real estate to an elected official is an offense.
It is.
So I would just bungle all of those up together and get rid of them. The second thing I would do on any foreign properties that I own, I would have all the profits going to a charity, to go to the U.S. Treasury. I would not take any income from that. And then I would just manage those properties that didn't have any encumbrances or any income streams coming that was tagged with any kind of governmental support. And I think he can do that, but he can't just go out and divest himself because he would get killed. He would lose everything.
Well, he shouldn't have run for president.
Oh, he got a right to run for president, and he's got a right to make a decision, and he has a right to make a decision to do exactly or take advice to get where I think he should be.
Okay.
He has the right to run for president.
I didn't say he didn't have the right to run for president. You run for president understanding that it may cost me these billions. I'm just saying that we should know these things.
He does.
As opposed to, and what you're saying is, well, he's got to figure it out.
He's saying the American people, not Donald Trump.
That's what I'm saying.
American people got to pick up a book or read a newspaper and figure out what they need to do.
No,
and
it's not in the paper.
I'm going to send Roger some information about the illiteracy rates in Hampton Roads. I can't think of your guy over the pilot who did that story a long time ago. I'm going to send it to you. We have huge illiteracy rates. People can't read and comprehend.
Which I would say makes them susceptible to some of the things that the president-elect was selling.
And Hillary Clinton as well.
This should not be the president-elect. He knew he was going to have to make some sacrifices. He knew he was going to have to make some things if indeed he won the election. So why is this even an issue now?
It isn't.
Why is it? It's an issue because he didn't
wants to make it an issue.
It's an issue because he didn't do the things that he should have done.
And the press didn't either.
Before
and the press didn't either. And the fake news that's going out there too didn't either. And the intelligence community didn't
He's the president-elect. He's supposed to do his job.
Give him a chance to do his job.
He's supposed to do right.
Give him a chance to do right.
And if this is the way he's coming in, if this is the way he's coming in, he's not doing the things he should be doing.
Lisa, if I may, real quick, he brings up fake news. Remember that President-elect Trump made his political career on fake news.
Absolutely.
What was that fake news? Birtherism. So what's the double standard? What's the problem? That's how he made his career. So I'm just saying that let's just be transparent and let us know these things, and then we can make our decisions. Well, I hope that he succeeds for the nation.
Well, actually, I
hope that he does.
With my good friend, President Obama,
absolutely.
he encouraged the president to show his original birth certificate, and that was good.
Oh my God,
he did. That was a good thing.
So
some good came out of it.
That was fake news.
Out of the fake news came a positive outcome.
Okay. On that note, next Friday we will have a brand new president, 45th president of the United States. I did want to get to something a little lighter before we left today. Hidden Figures, as I transition really quickly, the movie about the young ladies from NASA. did incredibly well at the box office this weekend, $22.8 million. They were only in a little over 2,000 theaters. Rogue One was 22.1, and it was in 4,100 theaters. So
Absolutely
they did
wonderful.
a fabulous job.
Yes.
And I just want to talk a little bit about the history of that. I think that is so incredible. Katherine Johnson is being recognized, as I mentioned earlier in the show, during the Songs for a Dreamer concert, and it's just phenomenal. I love the history in this area and some of the things.
Oh, it
that
is.
come up.
It's absolutely superly wonderful. Actually, I'm going to mention a colleague of mine, Miss Lily Green, who's been with Hampton University for 50 years, and she was not directly related to any of these people, but she can remember an account number from 30 years ago.
Wow.
Or an intern that I knew 20 years ago. Incredibly smart people and women in our area that have never gotten the recognition that they needed, and I've just seen so many instances of it. It just makes me so proud.
You know, I think there are not enough of these real stories. I mean,
Yeah.
you would almost think that this is fake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
No,
you
it
would.
isn't. No.
But this is a real story, and I'm glad that we're seeing more of these real stories of the roles that black men and women played in helping this country, despite the circumstances that we faced, despite some of the obstacles that we faced. And this, I think of the movie Amistad. I mean, these are things that I grew up in D.C., went to a black college,
Never
and
heard of
these
it.
are some of the things
Never
that
heard
I
of
did not know about. And, you know, it shows you we need to hear more of these stories.
Absolutely, I agree.
Right.
Eric.
And it also points to the reason why these stories are not told. Keep in mind that it's not because we don't want to know it, excuse me, but it's because that there was a system in place, systematic here in the United States, that suppress any type of positive achievements of African Americans in order to give them encouragement, in order to give them confidence in who they are, so that they too can participate effectively and meaningfully in this American system. For those of you who may dispute what I'm saying, please look up the black soldiers that fought valiantly in France during the World War, where the French government gave an commendation to those
Absolutely.
black soldiers. However, the Pentagon did not allow that letter to be published or given to the black soldiers because, quote, we don't want the Negro to have confidence in themselves.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That was it. Just real quickly, I had a chance to hear Margot Lee Shetterly, the author of Hidden Figures, speak here at Old Dominion. And she mentioned about how the book came about. And her father was at NASA and was aware of these stories and would share them with her husband. And it was her husband that actually said, "Wife, you got a story here. You got a book." And she puts together this proposal, shares it with her agent, and the agent was able to actually, one thing led to another. She had the movie deal before she finished the book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing. And she had the line. She said, "When you have a champion, anything is possible." And that's why this story is told, because someone saw it, believed it. I forget the woman's name that she said, but that is key.
And we
And we are
have
out
to
of time,
defeat
guys. I'm so
institutionalized
sorry.
racism that Dr. Claville brought up. We have just got to defeat it. Cut the head off that nasty institutionalized racism that have kept us from earning our full potential.
Happy
Thank you
Founders
very
Day to the ladies
Hey,
of
I see you guys.
DST, Delta Sigma
Hey,
Theta.
hey, Donald J.
Happy
Trump,
Founders
inaugural
Day.
next Friday. I'm dancing at the ball. I gotta get a date.
Next Friday, Another
I'll
View
get a
will
date.
not be here. NPR will be bringing you the inauguration live. We'll be back on the 27th. Our theme music was performed by Jay Sennett. And I'd like to thank Hannah Martin for stepping in as our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer. And Aisha Hack-George answered our phones. I'm Another View producer Lisa Godley. Barbara will be back when we return on the 27th. Make it a safe and enjoyable weekend. And thank you for spending your noonday hour with Another View.